Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about campaign transitioning. All right, so what I want to talk about today is the end of my Dungeons and Dragons Arbor Adventures campaign, and then transitioning to determine what we would play next, because it was quite interesting just to get an idea of how to transition to a new campaign. So when I wrapped the Arbor Adventures, and if you're curious about Arbor Adventures, you can get that entire campaign arc is highly detailed in a nice playlist, right? So we finished that, and when we finished it, it was incredibly rich, robust campaign. Really enjoyed it, and me and the Gold Dragon Master during the Arbor Adventures, now the gold player, we talked about, well, what do we want to do next, right? And so there was discussion that we could, and so I put all the options on the table, right? And so these were the options that I put on the table, and I also said very clearly, I'm going to put these options down. Everything I'm going to list, I'm interested in playing, and I'm excited about, right? So one, I'm going to give you first pick. You can pick any of these. And then if there's nothing on here that you're really excited about, let me know, and then we can entertain any ideas you have, right? And so so what I put on the list was, one, this person had played Dolos, the Sun Elf rogue assassin, who was still quite alive at the end of the campaign. And I said, okay, so we can do an additional different campaign with Dolos, the Sun Elf rogue assassin. Now, we had used the Crown and Skull rules for that campaign, and I said our next campaign can be run straight with D&D 5e, and we can transition to D&D VE as soon as it drops, so we can continue Dolos's story. We can also run straight Dungeons and Dragons with a new campaign starting with a new character, right? So those options were on the board. Okay. The next I said we can run the following campaigns, and every single one that I list now did not have a specific system attached, right? And immediately the gold player was like, well, what system will we use for these? And I said, listen, let's, for these ones that I'm listing here, all of these are system agnostic. We can run these with multiple systems. Let's choose the setting, and then let's have let's choose the setting, which setting we're most excited about, and then let's choose the rule system, right? Okay. So here's where the ones that were listed. Thin Blue Line. I've really wanted to run this campaign for a long time, and really not had a chance to do everything I wanted with this type of campaign yet. And Thin Blue Line is a police/detective campaign, right? Law and Order, Magnum PI. Well, I don't know. Actually, don't list that one. But like, Hill Street Blues. What are some of the cop shows I actually like? They're pretty rare. I'm not a huge, The Rookie I thought was pretty good, that kind of thing. So a beat cop or a detective, just straight, right? Like no genre, just literally like a police procedural, right? Like just like you would get on old network TV, right? And there's still plenty of those around. So I was excited about that. And then in addition to that, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I think that, yeah, and that was it there, right? And then in addition to that, I added some very system-specific settings. So Marvel, using the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, which I'm a huge fan of. Matt Forbeck, it's the most recent iteration of Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, and it is fantastic. And I've run it several times. I really enjoy it, so I put that on the list as well. And I think that was the full list, right? Oh, and then, I'm sorry, last, and this one was in the system agnostic, which was Star Trek. Star Trek. Okay. And I was really excited about that one. We put it on there, and I turned it over to the Gold Dragon Master. And I said, "These are the options. Take some time, think about it, and then let's decide." And the gold player took 48 hours, and within 2 days got an answer back to me, and Star Trek was chosen. And I said, "Fantastic! I'm super hyped about Star Trek. What do we want to use it? Do we want to run Dungeons and Dragons? Do we want to run Modifius 2D20, right? Because that is the current iteration of the Star Wars tabletop role-playing game. Just like Marvel, it's had multiple iterations, but the current is Modifius, and Modifius has had it for a full 5 years now, right? And they have a huge amount of books for it, right? It's really, really extremely well supported, right? So the gold player came back and said, "I would like to play Star Trek, and I would like to play Modifius 2D20, right?" And I said, "Okay, great, right?" And then the next question, and then it wasn't even I think we were both sitting on that, kind of percolating, and in my mind I assumed it would be TNG, right? But then I clarified, and I went back and I said, "Hey, what series?" Right? And he's like, "Well, what do you mean which series?" And I was like, "Okay, specifically tell me the start point of our campaign," right? So I want season and episode, right? And so he came back and said, "I would like to do Star Trek Enterprise with Captain Archer, Tucker, Mayweather, Sato, Phlox, and T'Pol," right? And I'm like, "Oh, fascinating," right? And he said the reason he wanted to do this, the gold player wanted to do this, was it's before the Prime Directive, so there's more freedom, right? Because the Prime Directive is very constraining. That is a very legitimate concern, right? So we knew. So we were running. So right now, we're hurtling into Star Trek Adventures using the Modifius 2D20 rule system, starting with Star Trek Enterprise series, starting in episode 1, right? Specifically when Archer says, "We'll take Clang, the unconscious, in a coma Klingon, back to Earth," right? And so that's where we decided to start. And it was it was tricky because I really had a lot in my brain, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm really excited about any and all of these," but I didn't know if there would be a rejection, and then a completely new list would be created. So it was really interesting, and there was a little bit of tension, just wondering if the next campaign would get started, and all the just on my side, and it was great, and I was really, and I'm incredibly blessed to have this player who really kind of gets the wavelength that I'm playing, that I run my campaigns on, and it's been tremendously successful. And very, very happy with how it's progressing. So thank you very much for letting me share with you the campaign transition mode. It's an honor to share these with you. It's really big, very big, important part of my life. This brings me a lot of joy, and I'm really invested in these campaigns, and it's a joy to share it with you. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion on campaign transitioning. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.